This attack, we are told by one Israeli source, was months in the making. It involved more than 10 fighter jets, which fired more than 10 munitions. Qatar's Prime Minister said that Israel used weapons that went undetected by Qatar's very sophisticated anti-air defence systems. So that is a real worry, also given the fact that, of course, there was a huge US base hosted here as well. We were also told by one Israeli official that the jets required mid-air refueling for the long-range strike, and they hit, all struck what was a single target, a residence where Hamas is housed here in the very heart of Doha, not a mile or so away from where we are now. I have to say, despite this being a nation, a small Gulf nation, in shock and anger this morning, schools are operating, traffic is as normal on the streets, as far as my observations can tell. It seems that rush hour was a very familiar, busy time this morning. So what is this very safe Gulf nation under normal circumstances back on the move today, defying any sense from these Israeli attacks that this is a country that can't cope with its own security and stability in a region which is so focused on de-escalating what is going on around this region, providing more peace and security. And that is why Qatar has at its heart this mediation pillar and has worked so hard over the last 22 months, they tell us, to deconflict what is going on in Gaza. Of course, Gaza and that conflict, really the through line to sort of peace and prosperity around this region. Without an end to that conflict, there will continue to be a sense of instability and insecurity here.
Let's get more on this. I'm joined now by Fواز, Jurgis, Professor of International Relations at the LSE. He's also the author of The Great Betrayal, The Struggle for Freedom and Democracy in the Middle East. Fواز, great to have you back on the show. I'm not sure whether you had the opportunity, Fواz, to listen to what we heard in the last 20 minutes or so from Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. If you did, just give me your reaction.
Well, thanks for having me, Isa. Let me be direct, because what you're going to hear from me is an entirely different narrative from what we have heard in the past half an hour or so. Benjamin Netanyahu would not have attacked Qatar without a green light or a yellow light from Donald Trump. In fact, before Hamas said that the attack failed, an Israeli official told one of the major media outlets in Israel that Benjamin Netanyahu did have a green light from Donald Trump. In fact, in his press conference, Benjamin Netanyahu went out of his way now to distance Israel, the United States, from the attack. But he said, twice he repeated, we independently basically carried out the operation. This is an operation approved by Donald Trump. Make no doubts about it. In fact, the statement by the spokesperson of the White House said, well, even though it was unfortunate that the attack taking such a target was worth the risk, point one. And we know, look, Isa, let's not do around the bush. We know what Donald Trump did in Iran. We know that Donald Trump's word does not really mean anything. And we know, even in Gaza, Donald Trump has told Benjamin Netanyahu in many words, do what you have to do, finish the job, occupies Gaza City. So the reality is, and this is my really punch point, is that the White House is trying to walk back its really green light for Benjamin Netanyahu, because Benjamin Netanyahu had either a yellow light or a green light from Donald Trump. Otherwise, he would not have dared to attack. Listen, Isa, Qatar has one of the largest American military bases probably in the world, not just in the Middle East. Qatar is classified as one of the most important allies of the United States outside of NATO. Qatar is not just a tiny little thing. It's a critical, pivotal point of the United States.
Given what you're saying, I mean, we heard the White House press secretary assuring Qataris that will not happen again. This is, of course, this is a close U.S. ally, not just Israel, but Qatar is a very close U.S. ally. How much, then, given what you've just said, how much is U.S. American credibility here destroyed from the Middle Eastern point of view?
You know, Isa, please let's not talk about American credibility any longer. We are beyond that. Donald Trump is a man who cannot be trusted, not only by Middle Eastern allies, by European allies, as you know. His word does not mean anything, literally. It does not mean anything. I mean, here is Donald Trump. His first visit outside of the United States, Isa, was to the Gulf, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and, of course, Qatar. The Qataris promised to invest up to $1 trillion in the U.S. economy. Here is Donald Trump, knowing full well that Israel was going to attack Doha, the capital of Qatar, which has one of the largest American military bases, violating the sovereignty of Qatar, humiliating Qatar, and killing Hamas members who basically, it was the United States, as you know, who told Qatar to have the office of Hamas there. And Qatar has been playing a key role. The final point on this question is that what we have seen today is the end of the mediation effort. And forget about the so-called, Trump's proposal. Trump's proposal is not even a proposal, because Trump's proposal, everything that Hamas has to say is to accept the president's words. It has to basically release all the hostages, and I hope it does, regardless. But take President Trump's word for granted, because Donald Trump is going to reassure Hamas that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to end the war. It is all-out war. The Gulf state now, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, all of them know they cannot trust Donald Trump, that Israel for Benjamin Netanyahu is more important for Donald Trump than the entire region itself, including Egypt and Jordan. Yeah. So this is really not an attack on Qatar, Isa. This is really basically, it's a what we call a nail in the coffin of America's strategic interests in the region.
Fawaz, as always, great to get your insight. Good to see you, Fawaz. Thank you very much indeed.